For nonfiction November, I picked two books. I'd previously talked about them in a rant video. The first being A Perfect Storm by Sebastian Jungers. There's a movie on this, but I haven't seen it yet. But I picked it really on a whim. Not really on a whim, but it's in the course of research or going down a rabbit hole that I discovered this book. And just as I had said in the rant video, I was really curious about Sebastian Jungers' approach to tackling this event, which is the unfortunate death at sea of 6 sailors, swordfish hunters, fishermen off the coast of Nova Scotia. And I found it really interesting to read his take on that event. Not really too much his take, but his documentation of what really happened. He also, in the foreword to this book, gives a description of his philosophy about the coverage, which was really to pay homage or respect to the facts that were presented through recount or account by fishermen in that area, by the survivors or the families and friends of the dead fishermen. And I admired that. And even in the first few chapters of the book, you would expect to be laden with so much facts and recounts or snippets, clippings, and all that, as any eager, trigger-happy journalist would do. Sebastian Jungers, on the other hand, gives us a more humane context to the life of fishermen in this area, and which read very easily, but also with so much compassion and with so much poetry. And I appreciated that even made me more or less prepared my mind for what was to happen, which were the series of the events, or the chronology of the events that were soon to take place, setting the stage for this unfortunate ending, which is the passing of the 6 fishermen. Sebastian Jungers himself, an award-winning journalist, brings his skill and mastery of in storytelling, in bringing us this story with a lot of warmth, with a lot of compassion. And if you haven't read it, then you may have to prepare yourself for some tearjerker chapters in this book towards the end, one of which was the dream of the dead. I'm just gonna go back to that chapter. So I had 2 very touching chapters in the book. 2 of them, one of which ended with the description of how the men what the men must have experienced in their last minutes, in their last hour, in their last minutes, and then the story also follows quite quickly afterwards. So they had about 2 weeks after the search for the boat ended, the Abigail, the Andrea Gale, which the boat was called. And 2 weeks after they ended the search, a lot of things happened. A lot of drama unfolded. We had anger, frustration, confusion, there was grief. And in a part in the book where Sebastian himself describes or recounts how grief is not, especially children do not express their grief in public, but in private when they think about the things that the dead or the missing would normally do if they were around. So he quotes such instances as children asking where their dad is, or usually maybe read stories to them before bed. And he was also very intentional in giving those the blow to blow unraveling, or the unfolding of circumstances, leading to the last breath of a fisherman who is being thrown off into sea and in a storm. And again, I previously said that the reason the book is called A Perfect Storm is not that there was anything immaculate or amoral, even moral about the storm in itself, but there is nothing moral or amoral about the definition as described here, which is a perfect in meteorological sense, meaning that the circumstances could not have been any worse. And that's the context in which the word perfect is being used here, and perfect storm. If you're not used to nautical terms or terminologies or meteorological technicalities, a lot of that will go over your head. I know it went over mine. However, what I took out of the book and enjoyed immensely was really the humane recounts, or humane narratives, or the narrative that dealt with the psyche and the drama that ensued before, during, and after the unfortunate event. And I enjoyed this for what it was, a good dramatic, fast-paced narrative nonfiction. The second book I took was The Black Count, and I was very excited when this was recommended to me by John Hanson, a new friend I made. More because the Black Count here, it is non-fiction. When you look it up, the Black Count here is referring to Alex Dumas, who is the real life inspiration for Count of Monte Cristo and the adventures of the Count of Monte Cristo, and of course the Three Musketeers. Those books were written by General Alex Dumas' son, Alexander Dumas, and in this book we see a part or a side of the Parisian history which you wouldn't or isn't generally being taught right now, or even being talked about. And one of the takeaways from this book I would like to emphasize is that Paris happens to be one of the the earliest multi-racial societies, by the laws that they advocated, by the culture, the reception of more of other cultures. But you also get to see the ferocity of power-hungry individuals and personalities. One of them you will know as Bonaparte, Napoleon Bonaparte himself, who we laud for his great exploits, but we in this book you get to see a dark side to his personality as well, and I believe that is the dark side of ambition. The story starts off with a bit of an account of Alex Dumas' history or background. His mother was a Haitian a black Haitian woman. She married a white French fugitive, and they were San Domingo. That was where they were based at the time. Alex himself was born, but he then went to France to serve from the lowest ranks in the army, and through different feats he was able to rise very quickly to the position of general, where he commanded 50,000 soldiers. And it was really at this point that his life became very interesting in a sense. Not so fortunately for him, however. At this point, he was, you could say he was peers with Napoleon, and one of the things that he was marked with, or the characteristics that he was marked with, was his charisma, his strength, his acumen, military strategy skills, and they came in very useful in, for him, as he amassed a lot of respect among the French soldiers. And during one of their escapades in Egypt, and I also, for me it was quite a lesson in history as well, knowing that Egypt had never really been colonized. But however, there was this instance when Napoleon, unbeknownst to many soldiers and maybe even to the French government at the time, or monarchy, did not know that actually intended to colonize Egypt. One of the people who stood up to Napoleon was General Alex Dumas, and it was even given in an account. And I have to say that Tom Reiss, the author of this book, during his research, had to go through many newspaper clippings, a handwritten diary kept by Alex Dumas himself during his capture, the capture in Naples, I think. Then many other memoirs and hidden documents, or even previously unknown documents, for him to get a lot of these details in the history and life of Alex Dumas. And interestingly, he was able to quote one of the letters by Napoleon's assistants, or you might say secretaries, in an account where he stated that Napoleon did not take lightly to Alex standing up to him when he was confronted for his intentions in Egypt, which was to colonize. And that was not the mission, that was not the brief. So when Alex stood up to him, challenged him, told him, "Sir, this is not what we're here for," I think Napoleon held a grudge against Alex, and this didn't end well for Alex. So he asked to be discharged or to be dismissed. I don't know what the term is, but when in going back to Paris, he was captured, and while a ransom was demanded of the government for him, thinking that he was of course rightly thinking that he was a high officer, well placed, they would get something substantial in ransom. Napoleon, of course, delayed or acted as a stumbling block to his release, and therefore Alex spent a long time in captivity in the hands of his captors, and this of course serves as the inspiration for the troubles that we had in Count of Monte Cristo. And this is just one of the instances where Alex Dumas himself shines bright as a beacon of virtue, as a beacon of justice, as a beacon of a moral man, and made him really stand out as a character, as an inspiration, and to his son. And when he's finally released, even after he's finally released, his troubles do not end, because by then we have Napoleon, who had risen to power, and then couldn't outright kill him, but made life really difficult for him, denied him his pensions and all pays and honors or tributes that were supposed to be made to him. At an instance, there was a statue that was built on his behalf, but had to be pulled down by orders of we know who. And even after he died, it was seen to be deliberate, that any record of him, of his achievements, were going to be wiped out of the books of history. And to some extent they kind of succeeded, but you can't hide a good, or keep a good man down for long, as you might say. And I think for this reason, I cherished this book even more, for shining light, especially in this time when it's much needed to see how multiculturalism or multi-racism is being not to say abused, but is being undermined, and or the values of multi-racism is multiculturalism is being undermined, and all the injustice in the world, and having these beacons being celebrated or being highlighted continues to be a thing of immense value. And for that, I'd say thank you to Tom Reiss for a splendid work in bringing sharing this story with the world. And with that, I had a great time going through these two books for the Nonfiction November. I'm excited, even more excited, to get back to books that I had said I was supposed to be reading, which are the normal suspects, or these usual suspects on this channel, which the fiction, fantasy and science fiction, which I promised myself that I would read. And with that, if you haven't read these two books, I do recommend them, and I encourage you to share your comments if you have, and when you do read them, please share your thoughts, your comments in the comments. Yeah, pun intended. And till next one, happy reading.